washing the tractor. I want it clean, Isabella. On the last episode, you saw me going out and cleaning up a bunch of leaves and chopping it up and kind of composting it more or less into the back of our yard out of the drainage area. Today I'm going to be taking the deck off of the G1800, pressure washing it, doing the spring maintenance. I'm not going to do a whole spring maintenance video because I've done that in the past. Just revert back to this link up here if you want to see that episode. But today is purely about taking this deck off, pressure washing it, cleaning it up. I guess the first thing I ought to do is drop the mower deck. Well, maybe not. First thing I should do is unhook the springs of the mower deck while it's up in the air. These are the deck assist springs that assist in transferring weight to the tractor so you get better traction. It's not that the tractor can't lift the deck without them. Alright, drop the deck. I think it weighs 100 pounds more than it's supposed to. Now, as you can see, there's a heavy packing of wet, nasty stuff. I'm going to jerk the blades off. They'll just get them out of the way, and they got to be off anyway to sharpen. We'll take a look at those. They don't look terrible bad, but there are a lot of nicks. And then I'm going to scrape all the stuff I can. Then I'll take a pressure washer because I don't want just a bunch of mess out on the driveway. That's to clean up anyway. All right. So I got my block of wood here. And you can just, normally you can just stick it in there, but I got so much buildup of stuff. So is this how you guys do it? Put a block of wood? I'm just kind of curious. Everybody else, a lot of people probably use impacts, but I don't own an impact. Get in here with this putty knife and start scraping away. All right, that doesn't look terrible bad. That gets the bulk of it off. I'll wheel it out and get it in the yard or the driveway to pressure wash it. But probably what I ought to do first is move it back enough that I can kind of clean up around it. The other use of a snow shovel. Let's take this guy outside. Before I go to washing, I'm going to fill the bearings with grease. That way it kind of keeps any water out, and then I'll re-grease them after I'm done washing. Alright, so I bled all the air out of the line before I hooked on. Didn't want to wait forever for that. So now what I'll do is I'll pull the trigger until I get all the air worked out of the line. Alright, now that we got everything kind of soaked, put on the more aggressive tip. Fold this way maybe. Now I'm gonna put back on the soaper, foam it one more time, and rinse it, and it should be good. That gets it pretty good. There's still, there's rust buildup on it. It really needs to be probably bead blasted at this point and repainted. But it should be fine and get through this year. These decks were built pretty heavy, so there's a lot of material that they can wear through before they're going to be shot. And like I said, this deck is a 93 model. And it should last another 10 years, I would say. And by that time, the rest of the tractor is probably going to be pretty junky. So next up, what we're going to do is put this back in the garage. Well, I'll probably let it drip dry for a little bit out here. And then we'll go back in the garage, hook it back onto the tractor. So I got the deck. It's been cleaned. I spray painted under it. I don't know if it's going to do any good or not. Probably flake right off. But I got the blade sharpened. It's been re-greased, the blades are installed, and it's just sitting out in the sun right now, letting that paint cure. But while I'm doing that, I'm gonna go ahead and grease this tractor. There's a couple zerks that are really hard to get to if you got the deck on, so get them good. Get started. I also want to pull the battery out and service it because it's been getting hard to start. My guess is the electrolytes are getting low, so we'll do that. First up, I want to take the weight off of the axles, so it's easier to grease the kingpins, and then the pivot shaft doesn't have to be high, just has to be off of them. For a grease gun, I'm using this 20-volt Lincoln battery-powered grease gun. My dad got it for me. For grease, I use just the red tacky grease. What's funny is you read on these forums, people just going on about how important grease is. Well, it's important, don't get me wrong. But it's also not important to use the most expensive grease you can possibly find on a garden tractor or even the BXs. Reality is, if you're getting those 4 moly greases and stuff, that's for heavy equipment that's got very large pins, very expensive pins, and it's working in an industrial environment. Alright, the only ones I got left are the rear U-joints on the axle. That should grease everything on this tractor. The mower deck's done. Alright, the next thing I'm going to do quickly here is just adjust the gauge wheels to be the right height for our typical grass mowing, because I had it way up there. So that gets the mower ready, other than the battery, which I'll work on now. Always pull your ground cable off first. And the reason for that is if you touch anything, it ain't gonna spark because they're the same, chassis ground. And then pull off your positive, because after you pull off your ground, if you touch something on the body against the positive, it's no longer grounded. So the positive cable's got some nasty looking stuff growing on it. Well, the levels seem good, at least on those 3 cells. Look at the levels on these 3. Yeah, those 3 look good. Acid up in there. Clean all that out. Clean the caps. So no water needed. So I'm going to clean the post and throw the charger on it. Make sure it's fully charged. Okay, so that's charging. While that's doing that, I'm going to go ahead and clean this positive cable. Yeah, clean these with a wire brush. So the only thing left to do is finish charging that battery. And then I'm going to go ahead and check the oil. Oil level is almost to the full mark. It's fine. We will be changing it shortly anyway. Check the hydrostat, it's full. So the only thing left to do is to finish charging the battery, put it back in the tractor, and this tractor will be ready to go until I get an oil filter and oil for it. But we're still early April, first week of April. Probably won't start really truly mowing for another 2 or 3 weeks. So by then I should have that oil filter and oil for it, change that out. Okay, so that's all cleaned up nice. So then opposite of removing, you install the positive cable first, put the air intake back in. See if she fires up better. Yeah, that was much better. It's probably mainly bad connection, dirty connection on the batteries, but it's been a little bit hard starting for a while, so glad that that's done.